Hey guys, Brockshield here. In this video, I wanted to show you some of the highlights of bringing our three-man group up here to Jintha'Alor in the hinterlands. The reason I wanted to come up to Jintha'Alor in the hinterlands was because it was an area that I had not explored enough of when I was leveling my characters through the course of the game. So to give you some backstory of my inexperience with this area in general, I have only seen the outskirts of Jintha'Alor previous to this exploration through the eyes of my Tauren warrior that I originally started playing when I first tried Classic WoW again. After leveling as Alliance, I never actually experienced anything with Jintha'Alor in particular, as this elite mob area in the hinterlands, a level 40-ish to 50-ish zone, exists primarily as a release valve of several of the linked quest chains that both Alliance and Horde players will experience when they quest through the hinterlands. And so to help you understand my perspective of why I wanted to eagerly explore this zone of trolls and vile branch warriors, witch doctors, soul eaters, etc. When you start questing in hinterlands, what happens is you'll start off in Horde on the bottom right hand side with the, I remember in particular there's a large white ogre that gives you a quest chain with some food around there, and there's also that turtle that you have to slay for one of the quests. Whereas on the Alliance side, you start in Airy Peak in the northwest of the zone. And for some of the Alliance chains in particular, I remember I would have to go get some like griffin feathers or check out some griffin cages, or maybe I think it was like maybe help some griffin mobs and things like that in this hinterlands area. And so basically the way it works is after you've completed some of the quests, like examining the different cages and some of those more basic fetch and collect style quests that the developers would have put into the game and the game designers would have felt like this is an excellent introduction starting point through which you can experience the zone. After the culmination of maybe 5 or 6 of those, then you are finally given some of the more difficult elite quests that require you to go to Jintha'Alor. And so if you have a full quest log of say 5 or 6 quests that require you to go here, you'll eventually start around level 45 through 48-ish, making your way up to these elite Vile Branch trolls. And when I experienced this on my warrior, it was very difficult for me because as a warrior, you are playing the best and most dependent class, which means that you are in need of healing and DPS in the event that you're protection, or of course if you are just like a fury tank warrior that can output enough DPS yourself, you still need someone to heal you. And as a result of that, I never made it far enough in Jintha'Alor to really see everything that this zone has. Or excuse me, I should say this, I don't want to call it a mini zone, but this elite area, just like for more of the Alliance players in Arathi Highlands and Horde as well, the Stromgard Keep area. Now that area features humanoids just like this, but actually humans, between the levels of 30 through 45. Whereas this seems to go from around 46, 47 up through I think like in the early 50s. So just to give you an idea of the level difference. One of the reasons I wanted to come here also is just to not get so bogged down in some of the goals I'm chasing as we move closer to a presumptive TBC announcement in BlizzCon in mid-February. So basically the reason I say that is because first and foremost, in terms of the goals that I'm chasing across these 3 characters, for those of us that played TBC, we'll remember that the epic flying The normal flying cost 1,000 to train, and the epic flying cost 5,000 to train. So what that means is, I don't know if there were rep bonuses, but I'm estimating that I need 6,000 gold for each of these characters at level 70 just to get their epic flying. For me, the way I plan on leveling is I plan on running these 3 tombs literally in the Hellfire Citadel dungeons all the way to level 60, and hopefully having 2 other people, ideally warlocks or mages or just AoE DPS classes, and we'll just AoE the dungeons down, as you've seen in the BRD video previous to this. What that means is that I spend most of my time farming for gold, and because even at the amount of gold I have now, at the time of this video, I have around 20,000 gold. If you look at it that way, that's enough for the 3 epic flyings, and then maybe enough to max out the professions I want. Because I want to max out jewel crafting, I want to increase my blacksmithing, my engineering, my alchemy, my tailoring, and I also just want to make sure that I have everything that I need in order to have these characters in a stable position, such that come level 70, I'll be able to focus on getting the best gear, because those other prerequisites are in place. And so that led me to wanting to experience some of these other portions of the game also, and not get so bogged down in just how much gold Blackrock Depths has been bringing this, our 3-man team here. In terms of some of the takeaways from experiencing Jintha'Alor, it was a lot easier than I remembered when I was a single warrior trying to just complete some of these quests in a group setting. Ultimately, that really did not work out too well, as having this 3-man team makes it a little easier because you're not counting on anybody to fill any of the roles. DPS is of course the easiest role to fill, and in a way also the most competitive role, in the sense that you are competing for the most difficult spot, basically. With that said, it is nice to have someone in each of the 3 different niches that can help us in whatever way to experience more of the game. I definitely love the art design with the zone. It's really beautiful colors here. It's a good mix, I think, of an alliance blue and green in terms of the sky and the general landscape in the hinterlands, as well as like a typical horde orc troll orange you see in the form of the huts that resemble like Native American teepees. I mean, really, it's all very excellent. Like, if you look at some of the design, for example, in Ashenvale, it looks just so similar. I mean, especially the Night Elf starting zones to some of the stuff you'll see in Lord of the Rings circa 2001, when Aragorn and the Fellowship are moving through Lothlorien. That ambiance of the purple with the lights and the beauty is captured so very well in Darnassus and all of these different places, the Night Elf zones in particular. So to see a nice blending of the greens and blues and the more standard Stormwind-esque straightforward pathways in combination with the horde elements of wildlife and nature and expansive growth from a perspective of these more bestial creatures. It is very beautiful because it's a nice mix, and Having leveled multiple Horde 60s over the course of my life, I mean, I can tell you firsthand, I personally get more aesthetically sick of the Horde zones, because if you look at a typical Alliance leveling route, just take a human. You go from Elwyn Forest, you see Stormwind, Westfall, Darkshore, Red Ridge Mountains, STV, Arathi Highlands. There is such Tanaris, Ungoro Crater, Searing Gorge, there's such a wide variety of zone colors there that as a palette, from a purely aesthetic perspective, you never get sick as an Alliance player of looking at the color of the zone you're looking at. And I'm aware of how strange that sounds from someone who hasn't played MMORPG games, but for those of us that have, I think we understand that point, because when you see the perspective of a Horde character leveling from Durotar to the Barrens to Stone Talon Mountains, or all of these other zones nearby that are all just seemingly one orange colored zone to another, actually, honestly, it makes me feel like the developers did favor Alliance in so many ways. I mean, for example, the human racials of sword and mace specialization, being better able to passively see through stealth, reputation bonuses. I mean, they have the best PvE racials in the game. To have paladins at all. Blessing of Salvation is huge. I mean, I look at it now like, how do Horde even compete? It's amazing to me how well Nihilum did in the earliest days of this game, previous to Burning Crusade, when they also got paladins, because Blessing of Sanctuary is just a huge bonus in terms of raid composition, and as a result, bringing all of that Alliance favored logic back here, it really shows how beautiful this blending of elements is for both Alliance and Horde players. For Horde players, they've been seeing troll-esque features for a long time, but they never see it in this sort of blue-green color tone, where the Horde are more of an intruder on the land in the Eastern Kingdoms, rather than the good guys. And then for Alliance, you're seeing more troll-esque figures, when previously, if you look at it, you're fighting humans. You're fighting the Defias, you're fighting the dark mobs in Darkshore that have fallen prey to the darkness of the land. You're encountering in Red Ridge Mountains Gnoll-esque figures that have been plaguing you ever since the Hogger days of Elwyn Forest. So by the time you graduate and move on up to trolls, you're hungry to see some more Horde-esque mob figures, because all you've been seeing up to this point are humanoids that look like you and have just gone down the wrong path. And that's really the beauty of game design, and how these developers and leaders all the way back 15 plus years ago make such a beautiful game. And this is just on cue for what I'm talking about. When you head down this tunnel here in Jintha'Alor, I did not know what was on the other side. So I'm going in blind thinking maybe there are more mobs, right? And then I see here that it's actually just a beautiful view. With the sort of Mayan Machu Picchu-esque pyramid there, it's just a reminder to me of how there was no reason to have to code this beauty into the game, but the developers still went out of their way just to give, the game designers as well, to give the players a nice view. For whatever little that would be worth in what could be, some players are hectically farming gold, other players are kicking back, role-playing in an inn. It just goes to show there's so much out there in all MMO-style games that is beautiful for each person respectively. So here is ultimately the culminating moment of the Jintha'Alor experience. The Vile Priestess Hex, if you look closely there, is part of the group. She is the ultimate big baddie here that you would have to face off against. Of course, probably, I think it's Ara. I'm not particularly sure offhand the name of the elite in the Western Plaguelands that you have to face off. It won't be so easy because you're not over leveled that you can just AoE pull them all without a huge group, but this was enjoyable because I remember the Vile Priestess Hex was a tough baddie for me when I was a lone Tauren warrior, so with all of us here now, it does make it easier, considering that Daenerys and Parmenion are very strong, so that is good. And their healing and magical powers did assist in bringing these mobs down more easily. With that, there really wasn't too much more left to do other than explore the caves. I knew that since I had finished the big baddie, there was unlikely to be something more dangerous lurking ahead. But that is exactly why you pursue and experience new things to see what other good experiences are out there for you. I'll definitely be interested in exploring different parts of World of Warcraft like this before the Burning Crusade, because at level 70 there'll be so much to do in Outlands. I don't want to feel like I'm losing out on growing our characters here because I want to experience more of the original game. So it's actually just amazing to me how both long and short 2 years are, and how much of a matter of perspective that all really is, as I am very grateful to have experienced all of these different experiences, all the way from those 3G per head per run stockades runs to one pulling SM Cath legitimately, and then the 3-man team that can farm up thousands of gold in Blackrock depths, no run selling needed. And so as we approach the end of this video, I want to say thank you for watching, because it means a lot when you like each video, leave comments, subscribe. It definitely means a lot to me as a person, and definitely a lot for this channel as well, and our characters here. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.